Simone in a nutshell.
Hi everyone, welcome to Uniquely Me with Simone Stewart. It's a show for women, about women, and by a woman. Like I often say, we women need to be wearing that big S on our chest. We're superwomen, we're trying to balance the many hats of life and trying to pursue our goals while we're raising children. We're in the corporate world, we're in church, we're a wife, just so many things. And so the struggle continues. Today I have with me a woman that I have known for too long to remember. But she has quite an interesting story to share with us of how she moved out of corporate to pursuing her vision, her goal, and I dare say her God given purpose. So we're going to learn a little bit more about this woman who maybe you're probably standing beside somebody else and wondering, is that her? Is that her? So, I'll tell you a little bit more. Lorraine, welcome.
Thank you
It's
so much,
so
Simone,
good
for
to have
having
you.
me.
So good to have you. Lorraine, we go way back. So I remember you from, let me see, it's probably really 20, no, it's probably about 18 years ago.
Yes.
I still remember when you came into our office with that winning smile, this little lady with this big smile. And it has not changed. Lorraine, share with our audience a little bit about who is Lorraine.
All right, thank you, Simone, for having me. Welcome to your audience as well. Lorraine is a still a little girl who grew up in Christiana, Manchester. I am a twin, so I'm one of two. If I didn't say that, my twin sister would have my head.
I'm
So
sure.
I'm one of two, and I grew up in Christiana, Manchester. I am the middle child. I'm three. I consider my sister four because she came
After you.
yes, after me, and I grew up in a Christian home. It's seven of us. We just loved each other. Very very humble beginnings, but there's one thing that has always been real and true, and it was always the love of God and us having devotion and reading our Bibles together and running up and down barefooted. But we just had so much love in our household.
Well, Lorraine, tell me, how different are you from your twin? When I was small, I always wanted to be a twin. But I was never blessed with that, and I tried to make my best friend my twin. And now I have my daughter, and I'm trying to tell her that we're twins. But you live it. Tell us a little about what was it like being a twin, or is as a
Oh,
twin. Sorry.
it's an absolutely phenomenal journey. I think I've always thought that we've never really leveraged being a twin because twins used to trick each other and trick people a lot. I didn't do we didn't do that part. But you find yourself having a best friend your
Yeah.
whole life. Somebody you can always count on. They say we look alike, but we also sound alike. If you were to talk to her now, you'd probably be wondering who is talking because we're that. But she's always somebody that I can call on because I have my other sisters and we're all such a closely knitted family. But Lorraine is my confidant. She's my friend. We cry together. We laugh together. We do the silliest things together. I'll be sitting and I'll be even saying to my daughter, honey, if Lorraine were to be here, that's exactly what she'd say. Or Lorraine be doing this or be doing that. But it's always just knowing that you have someone. And as a result of that, I never want to be outside of company because I've always had company, so I can't live in a space where I have no one at all with me. But it has been an amazing journey to have someone else that has your back. We don't fight, we just love.
Wow. I think I need to plug here and tell Lorraine. I've known Lorraine for a very long time and she has never stopped talking about you. And exactly what she just said is what she has always said to me about you. So, so life, you grew up and you came to Kingston to discover yourself. But then you got married. And as far as I know, you've been married forever.
That's true.
But talk to us about married life. What has married life been like?
Well, Virgin Donovan Nelson. He's my husband, and we've been married for 19 years. That's been a long time. I think I'm new Virgin from Manchester.
Yeah.
And I remember just going home one evening after work. I used to work at a funeral home in Manchester, and Lynn's Funeral Home. That's where my career started. Fun times. But I remember just walking home one evening. I saw him. I was still in the community, but he was visiting, and we just started to chat and exchange contacts. And I don't even know what happened, but something happened.
Love
I
found
always
you.
thought I always thought that he was interested in my older sister because he's 11 years my senior. So I was just thinking, oh, I'm the kid. But apparently, I had grown up and not realizing that I could actually hold a conversation with an older male, and he found that interesting. But the truth of the matter is, it has been. Virgin is my one of my best friends.
Yeah.
He and I have been through, I would say, every single thing together, and he's one of my biggest cheerleaders.
Wow.
He encourages me, he supports me in everything I do. I was telling my daughter the other day that Virgin is like my clothes. Those literally, like, I don't see myself doing anything or being anything without him. And it's not that we have not had challenges
Yeah.
over the years. I've had moments when I didn't even want to talk to him because sometimes I just think he's just closed off. And I'm a talker, I love to chat. And I want to say something, and sometimes I don't even know. What if I should say this to V? I call him V because he just always seems like he's pensive in thought about something, and maybe I'm going to be a blabbermouth now when he wants to be in this quiet space. But it has been a journey, and we have supported each other over the years and just loved each other. I've just been giving God thanks because so many marriages are not together.
Yeah.
No,
That's true.
but we can be in the same room and we can tolerate each other. We sleep together every night and we love each other. We always hug each other.
Wow.
You know,
Yes.
he might not look like a hugger, but I tell you, he's way much of a hugger than I am. He likes to cuddle, and well, the men in the world probably would want to know that, but my own honey.
Lorraine, that's very good to hear. After how many years? 18 years, 19 years? Because, sometimes, and I'll be honest, I think I'm just going to spill some of my story here. That sometimes, we don't know what we have. We complain, he's too much a hugger, he's too much in my space, that kind of thing. But every time I'm reminded that there's somebody out there who wish they had somebody to hug them, they wish they had somebody to love them, and I'm sure there are wives that are listening who they're listening with kind of side eye kind of thing, and that kind of jealous eye kind of, that because they don't have that. And that's something we have that we have to cherish. Now, how has Version been with the children?
Uh,
And I mean, we're going into some of his business.
They do laugh at him a whole lot. I don't know that Virgin is this kind of sentimental kind of dad, but there's something that they always say. Unlike like me, I make a promise and I say, oh honey, I can't do that again because this has come up, and they say, boy, mom, you break your promises. But they always say, something, that is always there.
Wow.
He never breaks a promise. He's just always there. And something that Ashley will complain about sometimes, boy, mommy, sometimes I wish that he was a little bit more sentimental, kind of lovey-dovey kind of guy. But she always dials it back to say, mommy, he's always there though.
Yes.
I just love my daddy because he's there. It's like there's this presence and there's this constant in your life. Just knowing that no matter what you're going through, you can call on daddy. And that is something that is very significant. I was talking to Jonathan recently and he said, boy, mommy, I love daddy. But I was thinking the other day, I don't know if he's taught me how to be a man yet. What am I going to do when I'm a father? I mean, we talk. I know he recently taught me how to iron my clothes, to clean my shoes, and all of those things. But I don't think he's taught me how to be a man yet.
Wow.
So we're going to have to work on that. But the one thing that is always consistent for them, and is that daddy's always there, and that is for me very, very, very significant because we have a whole lot of children who are just desperately in need of a father being there to call on, whether or not he's just there. You want to just jump on him and sit on him and him slap you in the head and whatever it is that they do, that is there, what I would call their love language, that connection that is there and that is significant and important to them.
That's so true. Well, Lorraine, we're gonna jump a little bit into, because I know there has been, two miscarriages. You want to tell us a little bit about that, and how did that impact you and impact your marriage?
Boy, that is a time that I've been a Christian most of my life. I've been a Christian since I was a kid. I got pregnant for my now husband, actually before we got married. And it was not the best situation personally as a Christian, because at the time he was unsaved.
Yeah.
I was in I would call it today to be a backslidden state when Virgin and I met and we came together like that, but there was just this connection. I really loved the guy, and I decided that, hey, I'm going to marry this guy. And so I believe I broke some rules.
Yeah.
And I found myself pregnant, and within about 9 weeks, I was just walking in Manchester one day, and I just started to feel some cramps in my tummy. When I went home, it just persisted, and I decided I was going to go to the doctor. And I was told that's before my now living first child actually was born. That was 9 weeks, and it was just a devastating period for me, even though it was a time when I didn't know how I was going to face the world, being pregnant and unmarried.
Yeah.
And my father being a pastor in a small church, and what that represented for the community. I was torn, but there was just this void inside of my system. I remember Virgin was in Kingston at the time. He came home and he just held my hand. I remember I was at my mom's home and I was just in pain, because when you go through that, they do the DNC and you have to take medication to go through a whole lot of pain. And I remember distinctly, Virgin, I was lying in the bed and he laid in the bed beside me. And he was behind me and he just held me so tight.
Yeah.
I just felt a sense that, he was actually there and comfort. So even though I was going through this time, and even my daddy, he didn't quite even come to grips with it. He was just so mad. He loved me. He hated seeing me going through so much pain. But still he was saying, this is not what God would want for you. So there was just this sense that even though I want this child, because you started to bond and all of that, there's just this sense that it's not the right time, it's just wrong, and it shouldn't be here at this time. So there's just this hurt there, but also a sense of relief that we didn't have to go down the road of what would happen in the public eye. So that was something for me. And then I got married sometime after that, maybe just about almost a year, and then we conceived Ashley. And I remember that journey was just such a trying one for me too, because my pregnancy was, I was spotting, and I had to do surgery while being pregnant with Ashley. At 6 weeks, I just happened to go to the doctor and I was just being tested, and they found appendix because I was in pain. I was just,
oh my God.
And I was taken into surgery, but they decided to do a pregnancy test before I went into surgery. That's how I found out I was pregnant, and that's how Ashley is here. Because God is just so purposeful and intentional. And then I got pregnant again, just about 2 years after Ashley. And I had a trying pregnancy. My son at that time, Zachary, he came at 8 months because I had preeclampsia. I was just working very hard. When you're in an environment when you think you're needed, sometimes you forget yourself. And I worked very hard, and my body was just tired. So I had preeclampsia. They had to take Zachary before time. He came at 8 months. I remember everybody was saying, "Oh, he's such a pretty little boy, but 8-month baby no survive. Oh, him survive. How did he make it?" And I was just so grateful to have the opportunity to take him home. Yeah. And I was there with him, and one morning he just got sick early morning. Just about 14 days. My God. Into him coming home, just got sick. And I didn't even know what was happening to him at the time, but he was having seizures.
Oh, I want you to hold it there. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Uniquely Me with Simone Stewart. And I have on set with me Lorraine Walker Nelson, very good friend of mine. We've had some good laughs here, but we're talking about one of those things that so many wives, so many women have had to endure: a miscarriage or losing a child. And Lorraine has had both experience. When we come back, we're going to learn what happened to Zachary.
Who am I really? Choices, choices, choices. In pursuit of a career? OMG, I'm a wife. Help! I am a mother. Oh, I'm in church. When do I get to be a woman that God called me to be? Uniquely Me covers the acrobatic endeavors of every woman to balance the responsibilities of being a mother, a wife, a professional, a church leader, a friend, yet still maintain her identity. I too am a mother, a wife, a trained minister of religion, a banker, an entrepreneur trying to balance the many hats that signifies my role. My book will help motivate and empower every woman who is really unique in her own way. Grab your copy today on Amazon because Uniquely Me is uniquely you.
Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to Uniquely Me with Simone Stewart. I have on set with me Lorraine, my good friend. She's talking about what life has been like experiencing both a miscarriage and having taken home her baby 14 days later. Something happened, and so want to dig in. Lorraine, so tell us what happened 14 days later.
So it was very early in the morning, as you would have heard over time. I was in Manchester. My husband was in Kingston. We were living, although married, we were living apart because that was our situation at the time. And the baby just started behaving in my head weird. I subsequently found out that he was actually having seizures. So I just noticed that his head was turned down. And when I woke up and I was wondering if I had turned down his head too much, how long his head was down, and if that could have caused him. So I started to just lift up his head because I fell asleep with him in my arm and I think his head fell over. And then I called Virgin. I said, honey, I don't like how the baby's sounding and he looks sick. You really have to come. So he drove from Kingston to Manchester to take Zachary to the doctor. That was about after 3 a.m. I called him and he reached early. And then we went to the doctor. And the doctor's office in Mandeville at the time, it was Ashley's second birthday. I cannot forget that I had Ashley with me and I wanted to celebrate her birthday, but Zachary was in my hand and he was seemingly terribly sick and I didn't know what was happening. And I just spaced in the doctor's office and there were persons, they were just going in to get their baby shots. Children are running around very playful. And my child was the youngest child in the surgery and he was screaming out with seizures. And the receptionist nurse, they had no consciousness of what was really wrong and what happened. And I got so frantic after waiting for a while and doctor was on the inside, he didn't know what was happening on the outside. I actually drove back down to Hargreaves Memorial Hospital, which is where I had the baby. And I ran in with my son and I said, he's really terribly sick. And I need somebody to call doctor and let him know that I was in the surgery. Nobody's giving me any attention and the baby's really terribly sick. And they got to speak to him and they sent me back to him. When he evaluated the baby, he said, Mrs. Nelson, this child is very sick.
So you're telling me that you had to travel with the baby from one medical office to another, to the hospital and back again? My God, all this time, what was going through your mind?
I was just so weak emotionally and broken. I was in tears. And I remember just saying to my husband, Virgin at the time, I said, you know something? Just take Ash somewhere because it's her birthday and I really wanted her to maybe just get something, an ice cream or something to represent her birthday because as a mom, we're always thinking about everyone. And when I finally went into the doctor, he examined Zachary. He said he was sick and that we had to admit him in the hospital. And we went back down to Hargreaves and he alluded to the fact that he was having seizures and that from the looks of things, there was a problem with his brain.
Oh my God.
No, that was just so, I don't know. I remember when he was born, I was saying to my sister that I don't know what I would do if anything were to happen to him. I was telling her that, Lord, I don't think I could live if he were to die or anything. And that was just a conversation because at the time because at the time he was 8 months coming home and everything was just, and when he finally came home and I just looked at him and he was just so precious, I was saying that to her. And in that moment, I was facing the reality that something was really wrong.
Yeah.
And he was in the hospital, and I went back and forth for a couple of days. And the doctor was saying that we have to get him into Kingston because we need to get him some help.
Yeah.
And they were saying that they had to get him on a helicopter or something. And they had to have a specific incubator and all of those things that they didn't even have. Because the doctor at the time, he's a very old veteran kind of doctor who knew how to do things. I think he said he would bag him a particular way and fix him to make sure that he was able to handle the air pressure
Oh my
to
God.
go from Mandeville into Kingston. But I remember I didn't know how that was going to happen because I didn't have the wherewithal financially to get my baby on a helicopter. I remember just walking into Scotiabank Christiana because that was my home branch. I was in Kingston, but it was my home branch, and I was talking to the then officer in charge. I remember Cheryl Gopal. Cheryl is still with Scotiabank, and she doesn't even know what she did for me. We don't even talk about it anymore. But when I went in, I sat with her, and I was just broken, and she just picked up the phone and said, there must be something that Scotiabank can do. For a family, it was an act of kindness that transformed my whole experience. And she called a head office, and we got Miss Hopeland Hines, who is still with Scotiabank, and she was like just this angel. I remember Ryan Hall was the director of HR at the time, and Mr. Wayne Cole, all of those guys, they came together and they arranged my helicopter to get my baby into Kingston. My God. And in spite of the fact that it was just so heartbreaking for me, you see the hand of God in everything.
Yeah.
And he got into Kingston, and I remember that's when I met Dr. Minerva Thain, who is still their pediatrician today of the living ones. And she was a resident doctor in charge, and she looked at the case, and they had to be manually had him on a ventilator, and there were some junior doctors that was just mentally breathing for him for days upon days, and he was just deteriorating. They said that he had some abnormal vessels in his brain that ruptured.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And without them doing that, he really had no life in him. So then the decision came to take him off the ventilator. And I tell you, it was just a very tough moment. I remember sitting with Virgil, my husband, in the parking lot of UWI at the time, because we had taken from her to UWI, and we were just talking about it, and it's like then we made a decision that we're going to remove him remove him from the ventilator. They didn't have a ventilator that they were able to set up. So the Children's Hospital had the system, but they didn't have the staffing. You had the staffing, but they didn't, and I don't know what happened between hospitals that they couldn't work that around. And so we decided to take him off the ventilator, and when we did that, we went home, and in the wee hours of the morning, after 2 a.m., we got the call that we had to come and identify his body. When you leave the hospital, you just know that he's just not going to make it, because the doctors were already preparing us. They were telling us that he's really sick and it's not going to work. And so we were holding out hope. We prayed, we did everything. I remember I was so broken. I loved to dress up. And my twin sister was trying to say, you have to fix up yourself. I didn't even care how I looked. There was just nothing in me. It's almost as if I was a zombie, just walking around, not existing. And my husband said to me, Laura, I sent him back to identify the body, just couldn't go back. He said, Laura, when I looked at my son, I had to cry. I didn't even see him cry. I hardly ever see my husband cry. But he said, Laura, I cried when I saw my son lying there, lifeless. That did something to me that he doesn't even know, because he doesn't cry.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, you are watching Uniquely Me with Simone Stewart. And I'm telling you, there have been times when I've had to hold on to my chair because on set with me is Lorraine Walker Nelson sharing her story of losing not just a miscarriage, but also having a son 14 days later, having to watch him deteriorate. When we come back, we will learn how this little giant of a woman moved on from there and what's happening with her now. So, Lorraine, wow, such an interesting. I mean, girl, sometimes I keep telling persons that we see people, but we really don't know where they've been or what's happening on the inside. But I see a lot of stuff happening for you, girl. You're all over Facebook. You're all over the world, literally.
Yeah, yeah.
And I must say that I'm very proud of you because you did something that I have been wanting to do. I'm not yet that brave to do it. And I'm sure there are many other women who are looking, who are watching and saying, I need to do that, but how do I do it? You left corporate as a
Yeah.
banker after 20 years, going on to 21 years. And I remember when I heard the news that you had left, and I said, what? Lauren would not leave. But Lauren, I see you doing some big things, and I want you to talk to us in about a minute or two. Tell us about that big thing that you have been doing. I see you wearing the shirt. I see them all over Facebook. Yeah, I want you to tell us about it because I think this is something we need to get on board with. So
Yes.
tell us about it.
All right, so I left corporate. Before I left, I was pursuing my speaking, coaching, and training certification with the John Maxwell team. Speaking is something that I've always wanted to do. I believe that the purpose of God for me is to speak into the lives of people. As long as I remember,
Yeah.
even while I was in corporate, I woke up early morning, seeing myself on stage, talking to people. From
I
when was
remember
a
you
kid,
told me that. Mm-hmm.
right? And I know that there's purpose in that. So as I have been doing that, and I've also been in the network marketing space,
Mhm.
traveling the world,
Mhm.
but as I've been talking to people, I realized that a few months ago, I decided that I went to a conference.
Mhm.
It's a personal development conference. And when I went to the conference, there was this gentleman, he's Rob Campbell, he's a facilitator of the conference. And he decided that he had a sheet of paper, he asked us to write out what he called an identity power statement.
Okay.
And I wrote this statement that I have on my shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And
Let's
it
see what
reads,
it says. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I am a godly, inspirational, and unstoppable Christian visionary and billionaire
Mhm.
that leads people to their potential and make a difference.
Yes.
And as I wrote that, I felt that I was rewriting my own story. That little girl that felt insignificant growing up, who grew up poor,
Yes.
who was made to feel like she didn't matter because of her story.
Mm-hmm.
I felt her coming out.
Mm.
And I thought to myself, I just decided, you know something, my children need to have their empowering statement. My
Yeah.
daughter and husband were in the audience as well,
Mhm.
and they wrote their statement. We just decided to just brand it on our shirts. I went home, allowed my son, who was not there, to write out his statement. I took all the paper from facilitators. Can I use this? And he said yes. And I decided to start using it in my speaking engagements and so on. And
Mhm.
the people just started requesting the shirts. But now I realized, as I've been going on an event with my friend
Mhm.
all over the island, a mental health tour with the dynamic lifestyle students, and the children really need something positive over their lives. It's very difficult to get somebody to say something great about themselves, and I realized the need for it. So we have launched a campaign. It's
Yeah.
My I Am Matters. My I Am Matters seeks to gift 1 million young people between the ages of 13 to 25 with a shirt. So when you buy a shirt,
Mhm.
what happens is that part of those proceeds go towards giving back 1 million shirts. So we have an event coming up on the 30th of November. We're going to give 20 shirts
Wow.
to the Worldly Girls Home, which is a project that I've been introduced to. And I will be continuing in the schools, churches, in my local church. My sister has a wing in New York where she's going to be doing the same thing.
Mhm.
And it's just to give back because we were created for a purpose.
So let me see if I get it because we're about to wrap up. So it's a matter of you're going to be selling these shirts.
Yes.
And is the case where we get to put our own I am statement on it? Or you give us one without, how does it work?
So you create your own I am statement, or if you decide that you want us to create it for you, we do it, because I believe that what you say about yourself is important. Your declarations are important. So you creating your own is something that we do push, but based on the volume that we're expecting, we know that we're going to be doing generic. So I have generic statements which are very powerful and empowering, which is what I intend to do for the children. But even in the context of what we're about to do, I'm going to be creating statements for the young ladies that I think are important. And my children, who are young people, have written statements which I'm going to brand on the shirts to give to young people.
All right, so it's on the 30th of November. Where's it going to be?
So we're going to be at the Wortley Girls' Home on Constant Spring Road. It's not my project. I was introduced to it by somebody who is overseas and actually wants to give back. And she reached out to me through social media and asked me to just empower and go and speak into the girls' lives. And I just decided that, something, I'm going to make sure that each of them are branded with their show. So I took all of their names and I'm going to create a statement that is personalized for all of them. And that is coming out of our pocket to make sure that we make a difference.
We want to, how do I get a shirt?
So you inbox us on Instagram or Facebook. I'm Lorraine Walker Nelson on Facebook. I'm Walker Nelson Lorraine on Instagram. Just inbox us and we'll communicate with you as to how you can get your shirt. We'll send the script to you, create a statement, and then we'll take it from there. That's where we are for now until we expand. We expect that God will do some great things because it's important.
Yeah. Lorraine, thank you so much for coming. It's really been a pleasure. My God.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Uniquely Me with Simone Stewart. Again, another inspiring story. You can find me on Instagram or on Facebook, Uniquely Me with Simone Stewart. If you want to be heard on the show, you can WhatsApp me on 1-876-856-5769. Remember, Uniquely Me is uniquely you. Thank you.